So, when you hear the name Machiavelli, what comes to mind? Probably something like cold, calculating advice for tyrants, right? The teacher of evil. But what if this famous or infamous analyst of power had a secret? A really surprising insight into who a ruler should actually trust to hold onto their crown. I want you to imagine for a second that you've just become a prince. You need allies, and fast, to secure your rule. So, who do you back? Do you side with the wealthy nobles, the powerful few who can offer you money and connections? Or do you put your faith in the common people, the powerless many? The truly Machiavellian answer is probably not what you think. To get to his answer, first we have to get our heads around Machiavelli's core idea about how society works. He believed that every single city, every state, is basically defined by one fundamental, unavoidable conflict. He called these two opposing forces the humors of the state, kind of like bodily humors in old medicine. On one side, you've got the grande, the great ones, the nobles, the elites. And on the other side, you've got the popolo, the people, the common citizens. And these two groups, they are in a constant tug of war. Now, this is the crucial part, so pay attention. Look at the difference here. The goals of these two groups are not just different, they are polar opposites. The nobles, the grandi, they have an active goal. They want to command and oppress. But the people, the popolo, their goal is passive. They just want not to be commanded and oppressed. This little distinction is the absolute key to understanding Machiavelli's entire argument. So, the obvious choice might seem to be aligning with the powerful nobles, right? I mean, they've got the influence, they've got the money, they seem like the winning team. But Machiavelli warns us that this is an incredibly risky bet. So what's the big problem with the nobles? Well, yeah, there aren't that many of them, but they are incredibly ambitious and dangerous. They see themselves as your equals, not your subjects. If you rely on them, they're going to expect constant rewards and favors. And the moment you can't satisfy their bottomless ambition, they will turn on you. And because they're connected and powerful, they can actually pull it off. A ruler who is propped up by the elite is never, ever, truly in control. At the end of the day, building your power on the backs of the elite is like building a house on quicksand. Their own ambition means they'll always be your rivals, not your reliable allies. And this is where we get to Machiavelli's big twist. After spelling out all the dangers of the powerful, he flips the script and reveals where a ruler's true strength really comes from. His logic comes down to simple, brutal math. You can maybe try to manage a handful of ambitious nobles, but as he says, you can never secure yourself against a hostile population. Why? Because there are just too many of them. The calculation here is crystal clear. The noble's high ambition translates directly to low stability for you, the ruler. They're always scheming. The people, on the other hand, have low ambition. Remember, they just want to be left alone. And that provides a foundation of super high stability. For Machiavelli, it's really a no-brainer. So why are the people such a good bet? Well, first off, their sheer numbers. You can't argue with that. Second, their goal is modest and, honestly, pretty easy to satisfy. You don't have to give them riches or titles, you just have to give them security and freedom from oppression. And if you do that, if you protect them, they become a fiercely loyal defense against all your enemies, whether they're from outside your borders or from within your own court. Machiavelli uses this powerful metaphor for it. He says a prince who is supported by the people has a fortress in every single citizen. But a prince who is hated by the people, he has absolutely no security at all. Okay, but I hear you. What about the big complication? What if you didn't have a choice? What if the nobles were the very ones who put you in charge? Are you just doomed? Not necessarily. But Machiavelli says you have to act, and you have to act fast. Your number one job from day one is to win over the people. You have to become their champion, protecting them from the very same nobles who put you on the throne. Yeah, it's a dangerous game, but he says it's the only path that leads to real, lasting stability. Now, all this might sound like some cynical, dusty advice from the 16th century, but there's a profound political lesson buried in here that is just as relevant today as it was 500 years ago. The deeper insight is this: no ruler, no government can survive for long against the will of the majority. For power to be stable, it has to have popular consent. And that doesn't necessarily mean a formal vote, but at the very least, a basic level of acceptance from the people being ruled. You simply can't oppress everyone forever. You can actually draw a straight line from the 16th century insights all the way to modern politics. It starts with Machiavelli's cold calculation. A ruler needs the people just to be stable. Over time, that idea evolves into democratic theory, where it's formalized as the consent of the governed. And that brings us right up to the reality of today's politics. Any leader in any system who loses popular support finds it almost impossible to actually govern. So we're left with a final, fascinating question. Is Machiavelli's advice just cynical manipulation? Protect the people because it's the smartest way to hold on to your own power? Or does it really matter why a ruler does the right thing, as long as the outcome is good, a population that is secure and not oppressed? Is this cold-hearted calculation actually the secret foundation of good governance? It's definitely something to think about.